Okay, so we've got our mix here, the reggae sort of 8 bars that I showed you in the last video. So I want to try and mix this down now, and I want to try and make it a bit more sort of fuzzy and a bit more nasty. So I'm going to actually just check my mix. So the one thing that was there was the percussion was actually quantized to straight 16ths rather than swing 16ths, which made it stick out. So hopefully that will be better now. There we go, that's better. Okay, assuming that I'm happy with the mix, which I sort of am, I'm going to export the entire song now, which is just the 8 bars, but you can get the flavour of what's happening. And then I'm going to temporarily rename that. Sorry, go back to my songs. G minor reggae guitar. I'm going to call it G minor reggae groove. Jim reggae groove again. Watch out for the autocorrect. Okay, so I'm going to now select this, share that entire mix as a song at highest quality, keep everything the highest quality you can, put it to files, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it back into the same working space that I was in just now. There we go, G minor reggae groove, done. Okay, so just going back to the tune that I had, there we go. I'm going to mute everything now. I'm going to add another track, and this time I'm going to add a guitar amp track. There we go. Maybe we could try playing with the guitar amps in a minute. Take the phaser away, and then bring in my mix that I've just created. G minor reggae groove, reggaegroove.wav. I think it was that. Seemed to have the G minor bit missing at the beginning. Let's just listen to that on its own. No, that's another one that I did. So I'm just going to delete that and find the one that I need. G minor reggae groove. There we go. So there's my entire mix now. Now I'm going to add a guitar amp track as well. I'm just going to get rid of that phaser. So same operation again. Go back to my main working space. And I'm now going to copy this and then go back to the beginning and paste into the guitar amp track. So I've got either or. So I can now mix these together. Either I can have the guitar amp on its own, which sounds fairly foul. I love it. Absolutely love it. So if we go back to the amplifier, I can sort of just tweak the tone controls here. Okay, so I'll go back to the original. Now the only trouble with the guitar amp is it takes off the very lowest frequencies, which you don't want really. It's fair enough having it a bit crunchier at the top, but not the bottom. So what I could do is I could use the bass end from my raw audio file, this one. I could use that, go into my effects, turn the bass all the way up and the treble all the way down, and I can also go into visual EQ and sort of get a bit more draconian with it. There we go. So now if I mix these two things together, might be a little bit too much actually now. I'll just take the bass end away slightly. There we go. There we go. There's something there. Now, the other thing I can do is if I sorry, just go back there. If I go to effects now at the top and record something, you know, the filter thing that you can do on GarageBand. Okay, I'm not going to use that, but rather what's happened now is that an effects track has appeared at the bottom, which I can then delete, but it keeps the track. Now on that track, you can actually have some, you can change your EQ or the master effects. So if we go to visual EQ now, now, in addition to that, to make your tune sound a bit fatter, we also have a gain control on the side here, which you can vary up to 30 dB, which is massive. Now, it depends on the output of your computer and whether it can actually cope with that level. But you never know until you give it a go. But if I raise this 6 dB maybe, what it does is it essentially flattens off the output so that you can kind of, this is very basic mastering really. You know, you can download mastering plugins, but many of them are monthly subscriptions. So, yeah, it depends how much you're going to do, of course. But something like this, if I take the effects track away briefly, you can hear the difference. So this is maxed out. And this is off. Back on and off. Now, it's worth doing. If you've got a tune that you're really happy with, it's worth sending it away or getting somebody in the know to master things, although you can get a fairly good sound with this. So there we go. There is a way of doing a little bit of sort of post-production, if you like, and with Reggae it does sound great with that guitar amp. You can change your amp, of course. You've got so many different amp models. So I'm just going to take my effects track. I'm just going to take that mastering plugin off the effects here. Okay, it is off already. So experiment with different guitar amps. Now be aware, of course, that this guitar amp has a mono output. You're not mastering in stereo. There's not really much you can do about that, apart from trying to pan stuff left and right and then trying to have two guitar amps panned hard left and right. It's tricky. So if I just go to my guitar amps and run through the list of amps, you can hear the difference. I quite like this one. Now the other thing, of course, you can do is split that snare drum up. So if I go back into the Reggae thing itself, just muting that main output, so I'm back to my iOS working space. We could duplicate these drum tracks. Let's put there we go, 2 duplicates on. Now what I want to do is to get that snare drum. There we go. So let's just draw around all of those. You may need to open this up in order to, there we go, to copy, and then I'm going to delete those, but they're still in the memory of the iPad. So if I go done and then go to my next drum track, I could edit and then paste it back. Now I don't want anything until beat 2 because that's where the first snare is. So when you paste it, it should all line up. So we've now got the side stick on its own. So you could experiment with things like echo, but making it, you want the echo to be a triplet echo, so you get the dun, dun, ga, 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 that sort of sound. You can do that if we go into plugins and EQ, edit my list of plugins here, find track echo, and then we can specify the rhythm that we want. So we've got everything imaginable here. So if we have eighth triplet, for example, that's sounding a little bit, it's kind of turning a bit dubby now. So you can also have the color of the delays to be to where the tone is rolled off on the echoes, which is kind of what you want, because that simulates an old tape echo. Now, it would be even better if we had that through a guitar amp, so you could get spring reverb as well as your echo. So if you're going to do that, it would be better to have the echo off, maybe take the compressor, or leave the compressor on actually. I want that side stick to be really sort of fat and angry. So I've got that soloed out at the moment. So I'm going to save the song, but this time have G minor, reggae, snare. So you've got to be, it's very easy to get lost in all of your sort of file types and all that. So I'm going to save to files. Also in the mix, the guitar was a little bit loud, so I'm just going to take the guitars down a bit as well, so I can have those more in the background. So, done. I'm going to go back into my snare drum, into my what's called reggae snare, but it's actually the entire mix. And I'm going to create another guitar amp sound here. There we go. And then I'm going to put my snare through this. I'm just going to turn the gain down. This is like a Marshall sort of amp copy, so they're kind of assuming that you want to play rock through it rather than jazz, so, or reggae to that matter. So let's take the phaser, take that away. So that is my guitar amp track at the bottom, onto which I'm going to drag my snare drum, which is stored in my loops up here. G minor, reggae snare. There we go. There it is. So I'm just going to bring that down here. Take away the snare that I've got already, the sort of raw snare that was recorded. And then we can, obviously you can have your snare sort of tinkered with a guitar amp. I'm just going to go into the visual EQ and turn the mid-range of that snare up a bit, so it's a bit more present in the mix. Liking that. Okay, I'm going to take the guitars down, wherever they are. That's a little bit better now, so I'm going to go back to find my snare and then play with the echo on that instead. So edit, none, track echo, and I want 1/8 triplet. Let's see what that sounds like. Now you can elect to have the echo on some of the snares and not others, but the way that you do that is to duplicate this track and then edit out the snares that you don't want, or that you do want to echo. So maybe I want the first one only to have an echo, so all I do is go to my audio file, split that, and then move everything else onto my track that is identical because it's duplicated track, and then just have the echo on the first snare. Of course I've duplicated the track, so it's duplicated my echo as well, so which I'll remove. And there we go. So the world's your oyster. You can tinker. You can keep tinkering. Don't forget, you have 32 tracks on this. What a mind-blowing bit of kit.